are laid in the death of Stephanie Warner.
Nothing will ever bring my sister back. I'm hoping this is the first step towards justice.
We speak to Warner's sister after 2 security guards are charged in her death 7 months ago inside Toronto General Hospital. A touching tribute to a life cut tragically short. How the cyclist struck and killed outside Dufferin Mall last week is being remembered by those who knew her. And
you know, I think that will start to help people recognize this as a real thing.
a major turning point as a grandmother in the UK receives the first jab of the Pfizer vaccine. How hospitals here in Ontario are preparing to receive the first doses. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Well, 2 hospital guards have been charged in the death of Stephanie Warner. According to a coroner's report, she died after guards forcefully restrained her at Toronto General Hospital 7 months ago. Our Greg Ross has more on the latest developments and reaction from Warner's sister.
According to police, 42-year-old Amanda Rojas Silva and 35-year-old Shane Hutley have been charged with manslaughter and criminal negligence causing death. They were 2 security guards who were involved in an altercation here at the Toronto General Hospital in May that led to the death of Danielle Stephanie Warner. Now, according to a coroner's report back in May, Warner was sitting here in the lobby calmly when those guards approached her and forcefully restrained her. Now, the 43-year-old Warner never regained consciousness after being restrained by those guards, and she died 16 days later. Now, the report also said that during that altercation, a security camera was purposefully turned away from the scene for more than 2 minutes. I spoke with Warner's sister today, Denise Warner. She wonders if this was an isolated incident.
My gut sense is that perhaps this is a culture within the security department at UHN at that particular location. I can't speak to the others. That's my gut sense. It's callous, it's egregious, it's coordinated. But at the end of the day, you know, the details, not to say that they're irrelevant at this point, because certainly they're important to the case, but they're never going to bring my sister back. And that is what is a gaping hole, is that she's gone. You know, she will never experience, we will never have those life experiences with her again. We won't have memories. We just won't have any more life with her.
We know that Stephanie Warner was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. She struggled with substance abuse and also suffered from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease associated with a smoking habit. Now, according to reports, there were actually 4 security guards who were involved in this altercation. No word yet as to whether or not more charges could be coming in this case. Police say that Rojas Silva and Hutley were both arrested today, and they are due to be in court next Tuesday. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
A woman has died after she was found injured on a Mississauga roadway tonight. Police believe a collision happened at Tompkin Road and Myerside Drive. They were called to the scene just after 7:30 tonight. Officers have not confirmed whether the woman was a pedestrian who was hit by a vehicle. She was taken to hospital where she was pronounced dead. The intersection is closed for the investigation. The cyclist struck and killed outside Dufferin Mall last week is being remembered by friends and family for her energy and empathy. An obituary posted online identifies the victim as 23-year-old Alexandra Amaro, a journalism student at Ryerson University. She died after she was struck by 2 vehicles while cycling on Dufferin Street north of College the evening of December 2nd. The obituary says Amaro was a beloved spiritual traveler, life philosopher, and eloquent writer who was taken too soon from her older sister, parents, and grandparents. In a tribute posted to Instagram, Crown Flora Studio, where Amaro worked for the last 4 years, describe her as a sweet angel who brought light and positivity to their close-knit workplace. Detailing their frequent early mornings, late nights, coffee runs, and photo shoots, the post went on to say that her smile and calmness will be missed by all who knew her. The investigation into her death is ongoing. It's unclear at this point if either of the drivers will face charges. Another school in East York is closing its doors to staff and students for a Toronto Public Health investigation. This after 14 students tested positive for COVID-19. The TDSB said in a tweet tonight that due to the outbreak at Garneau Collegiate Institute, all students and staff will be dismissed beginning tomorrow, with the school closed until at least Friday, December 18th. This is to allow Toronto Public Health time to finish the investigation and to conduct additional COVID-19 testing. Now, this is the third school to be shut down in the East York neighborhood due to COVID-19. The Fraser Mustard Early Learning Academy will close beginning Monday, and Thorncliffe Park Public School closed last week. Well, it's a major turning point and a big boost in the battle against COVID-19. A grandmother 1 week shy of her 91st birthday has become the first person in the UK to get a shot of the Pfizer vaccine. Now, here in our country, Health Canada still hasn't technically approved the vaccine, but hospitals are already preparing to receive the first doses. Chris Glover reports.
You can see it's at -80.
240,000 COVID vaccines can fit in these freezers at Toronto General Hospital.
See how quickly that dropped from -80 to -73.
Yes.
Ontario's premier knows keeping the vials cold enough is a challenge. Public hesitancy to get a shot is another.
I might get it, I might not get it.
In October, some 1,200 Torontonians completed a voluntary online survey. 40% said they'd definitely get a COVID-19 vaccine. 33% said probably, and 16% said definitely or probably not.
I don't know. I think they should all get it. You just have to trust the doctors and the scientists, right?
Look at the pandemic right now. Do we want that to continue? No, so might as well just try and get as many people vaccinated as we can.
Toronto Public Health paid for the October survey, but in July, a national survey of more than 1,500 Canadians found fairly similar vibes to a COVID vaccine. Back then, 46% said they'd get it when available, 32% would after waiting, and 14% said no. You can look to the UK for inspiration as the first vaccines were administered today.
Hopefully it'll help other people come along.
You know, I think that will start to help people recognize this as a real thing. It's not a theoretical thing.
This Toronto infectious diseases specialist says despite seeing it happen and seeing the science showing the vaccine is safe, some will never get it.
But that's not the audience we're going after. We're going after the people who are either want to get it or probably want to get it.
Ontario officials said this week they won't make the vaccine mandatory.
Who knows, there may be some restrictions in terms of travel or other restrictions that may arise as a result of not having a vaccination.
Some 48,000 doses are expected in Ontario fridges by the end of this month.
And we want to see those vaccines rotating out as quickly as is humanly possible.
And while officials prepare those medical-grade freezers inside hospitals like Toronto General, the Toronto Vaccine Task Force has been meeting since November to hammer out all of the other logistics. And that survey looking into whether or not people will actually get the COVID vaccine, that is going to the Toronto Board of Health meeting next week. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
More than 700 families are now waiting for key children's health services at a Toronto rehab center. The pandemic backlog means wait times are now months or even more than a year for services like wheelchair fittings and autism programs. Lauren Pelly brings us this CBC Toronto exclusive.
Just be careful, watch the camera.
Noah is your typical rambunctious 5-year-old with a speedy set of wheels.
Noah was diagnosed with cancer at 6 months old in the spinal cord.
The tumor was treatable, but it left him paralyzed from the chest down. Now Noah needs a variety of services, from fittings for his wheelchair to appointments providing medications that strengthen his bones.
And these are certain things that are going to get delayed. And then I also worry, how long are they going to get delayed by? 1 month, that's okay. But anything past that, we're really starting to risk his health.
Noah's mom says he's due this month for his next round of Botox injections in his bladder.
So if he doesn't get these injections, you know, things could back up into the kidneys. There could be permanent damage.
Right now, hundreds of children are facing months-long waits for specialized services at Holland Bloorview Kids Rehab Hospital, the largest facility of its kind in Canada.
We're still catching up from the first lockdown. And unfortunately, this is going to be this will definitely worsen if we need to shut down again.
The pandemic backlog includes close to 500 children waiting for an autism clinic, more than 150 waiting on orthotics and prosthetics, and over 60 waiting on wheelchair fittings, a wait list of more than 700 families in total.
It'll take us a while to get back to clinically acceptable wait times.
A coalition of children's health organizations, including Holland Bloorview and SickKids, has called for more provincial funding to tackle the wait lists. But provincial officials aren't committing to any new investments.
You feel really helpless as a parent trying to do the best for your child.
Noah's mom says the needs of kids like her son should be a higher priority in the pandemic. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to the day's developments at the trial of Alec Minassian, the man responsible for the Yonge Street van attack. The defense has rested its case. After 6 days of grueling testimony from its final witnesses, the defense turned the trial over to the Crown. As Trevor Dunn reports, the Crown's first witness was another psychologist who assessed Minassian.
Justice Anne Malloy thanked Dr. Alexander Westphal for his time before the Yale University psychiatrist was finally excused from the virtual trial today. For much of the past 6 days, Westphal insisted that Alec Minassian's autism is so severe he did not understand the moral wrongfulness of the van attack. Minassian admits to killing 10 people and injuring 16 others in the 2018 rampage, but he is asking to be found not criminally responsible due to his autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. The Crown's pushback against that defense began today. Its first witness is Dr. Percy Wright. The Toronto psychologist works at CAMH and has testified at more than 40 trials. Wright agrees with Minassian's ASD diagnosis, but he testified that Minassian has high-functioning ASD, which is characterized as mild. The defense is arguing that Minassian was hyper-focused on committing mass murder and that contributed to his decision to kill. Wright testified that Minassian does show signs of being hyper-focused, but it's on science, astronomy, video games, and math, and they don't seem to be of the severity that they intrude into his thought process, he testified. On the subject of theory of mind, Wright also differed with defense experts. He told the court that theory of mind is the ability to recognize that other people have a mind that's different than yours and think differently than you do. Wright testified that he was surprised at the results of a test dealing with this. In it, Minassian had to answer questions about sexuality and dating, and even though Minassian has never had a girlfriend and has no true dating experience, the court heard, Wright testified that he thought about it and was able to generate virtually all the right answers. Another test Wright conducted was on non-literal concepts, something people with severe autism can have trouble with. To my surprise, he did not struggle on this measure, Wright testified, and on one section, Minassian scored well above the average. The witness will be cross-examined tomorrow. Trevor Dunn, CBC News, Toronto.
The Toronto police officer convicted in the 2016 beating of Devonte Miller appeared for his police disciplinary hearing today.
The measures that are available to the hearings officer range from days of docked pay to dismissal.
Constable Michael Theriault pleaded not guilty to a charge of discreditable conduct. He was convicted of assault for hitting Devonte Miller with a metal pipe. Theriault was sentenced to 9 months in jail. He's currently out on bail and suspended from the police service without pay. The disciplinary hearing is expected to determine whether Theriault remains a police officer. Today's hearing was brief as his conviction is being appealed. It will continue after the criminal case is concluded. When we come back, we head to a rink in an area hit hard by COVID-19 that's not being used for skating.
In March, we had about 30 families that were coming to the arena. Today, we're at about 200 families that we have on our list.
More on the crucial work happening inside the Angela James Arena in Flemington Park and why organizers are worried about the future. Coming up next, plus...
Oh, a few wet flurries, a little bit of light snow through the overnight, but it's a warm front that's moving in. I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy. I'll tell you what kind of impact it'll have on our temperatures coming up.
The group representing Canada's restaurant owners wants a national program to support the food service industry.
What we're envisioning is a forum for coordinated action to encourage and to support innovative, multi-stakeholder discussions that will ensure restaurant operators are set up for success in the post-pandemic economic environment.
Pandemic restrictions in parts of the country, including in the GTA, means there is no dine-in or patio service. And despite various support programs like the federal wage subsidy and eviction bans, many restaurants are fighting for survival and say they need more help. The group is asking people to continue to support restaurants by ordering takeout or buying gift cards. A hockey rink in Flemington Park has opened up as an emergency food distribution center after the food bank in the neighborhood shut down. But as Nazima Walji reports, it won't be able to continue to operate unless the center gets more funding.
Ian Baker has been volunteering at the Angela James Arena since the pandemic hit. That's where they've been operating an emergency food distribution center.
I've been in this community, Flemington Park, for the last 5 years.
He also uses the food bank.
They provide us with means that we do not get. They help us, especially with this COVID crisis is running, so it helps put some food on the table.
Do you find it difficult to put food on the table?
Yes, it does. At times, it's pretty hard.
Food Share helps by providing boxes of fresh produce, and community agencies do the rest through outreach and donations.
So in this Food Share box, we have some fresh produce. Here we have some lettuce, kale, and then if you look inside, there's a whole bunch of different fruits.
It's good food bank. Help me good for COVID, no work.
We appreciate it because it's a big help for us.
In March, we had about 30 families that were coming to the arena. Today, we're at about 200 families that we have on our list.
How big a necessity is this for this community?
Food insecurity has been a long-standing need in the community of Flemington Park. Our newcomer populations have faced the brunt of the impacts of this pandemic, not only being disconnected from equitable access to care, but equitable access to services and food access.
The local food bank was struggling before the pandemic hit.
They don't have the space enough to stock in vegetables, stock in fruits, stock in perishable items. Demand has increased in quite a troubling way.
The group's been working on a tight budget, but fear they've stretched it as far as they can.
This emergency food distribution at Angela James is going to run out on the 18th.
We're thankful that at least they use these premises to give it to us. Otherwise, it's pretty hard.
Nazima Walji, CBC News, Toronto.
We are a week into our annual Sounds of the Season fundraiser, and already we're seeing great support. You've helped us raise more than $530,000 for GTA food banks. And that's wonderful news because with the pandemic, the need is even greater this year. You can find out how to donate at cbc.ca/SOTS. And it's a cold one out there tonight. It is December, after all, and we can expect some light snow as we get into the overnight. Let's go to our meteorologist, Colette Kennedy, now for a look at the full forecast. And Colette, a little bit of everything over the next few days.
Thanks, Calda. You know, we're going to be seeing some real changes. I mean, the last couple of mornings have been so chilly, at least till we got things started. Nice to have the sunshine, obviously, today. But we're going to see a change in terms of the winds changing direction and really having an impact on the temperatures, the lows and the highs in terms of what we'll see. But as this warm front is moving in and shifting those winds from the west to more of a southwesterly flow, getting into some of these flurries and a little bit of light snow, expecting a trace to maybe 1 or 2 centimeters, very localized. There's really not going to be much to this as it goes in through the overnight hours. Then we get into that milder pocket of air, and it's not that much of a pocket, or at least it's one that's going to stick around for a while, because we're looking at this for a few days. Then we get into the weekend, and it does certainly look like still mild Saturday, so rain showers. And on the backside, we could see a bit of a mix from that system, but still watching the tracking with that one. The daytime highs today, once that sun could work its magic, we did see those temperatures, you know, getting a little bit above freezing and not having to deal so much with the wind chill. A little bit of a different story there, a little further east into Ontario. But as that warm front goes through tonight, of course, lots of cloud cover. That's been increasing and will continue through the overnight. We get get into a little bit of that kind of light flurry activity, maybe a bit of wetness on the roads into the morning hours. It'll be drier back towards southwestern Ontario, but you're still dealing with the cloud cover because even once that front passes, we've got kind of a trailing trough, and that's going to keep us somewhat socked in cloud cover. Late day on Wednesday, we might get a few kind of peaks at the sun starting to break out, but it's going to be kind of hard to come by, and we may even still see a little bit of drizzle, but I would expect that more so in the morning hours than into the afternoon. It definitely looks drier into the afternoon on Wednesday, and for Thursday, how about it? The skies will be somewhat variable, but I think we'll see some sun mixing in there with the cloud cover off and on throughout the day, and you'll certainly see that in the latter part of the day as you get some clearing there coming back towards the Windsor area. So overnight tonight, your temperatures with that cloud deck sitting above freezing or just at for London with some flurries, and then hoping to see some of that sun breaking out there, especially latter part of the day. And have a look at these numbers in terms of the warm up. 9 degrees tomorrow for Leamington, for Chatham-Kent, and for Windsor. And overnight readings around Toronto, that's why it's likely a mix or kind of some of these wetter flurries, and then we should be drier into the afternoon hours, but warmer as well. So 6 degrees for our high. It stays mild as we head towards the weekend. I mean, quite mild for Saturday, but again, once we get behind that system, everything kind of changes. So just enjoy the next few days if you'd like it to be a little bit warmer. Gelda.
Thanks, Colette.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
Patients at Sickkids got a special surprise visit from a few boys in blue, but it looked a little different this year.
So excited to welcome a bunch of our players from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Everyone wave. Wave to our friends.
The visits are part of an annual team tradition that stretches back to the late 1920s. But this year, due to the COVID-19 restrictions in place, several players and Carlton the Bear joined patients and families virtually to enjoy interactive games and some fun activities, including asking the players some questions.
Hey guys, it's Brock. I haven't seen you since January when we were in Florida. What have you guys been up to since the season ended?
I've just been at home, just kind of relaxing, spending time with family. Been fortunate to have some nice weather down here, so been definitely taking advantage of that and just getting prepared for the next season. Getting excited.
Spending time with my family, my young son, being with him every day. He just started walking a few weeks ago, so
congratulations!
It's been great to kind of see that. And
who has the best facial hair on the whole team? Yeah, I think Carlton might have that one. I don't know. Oh, Muzzin, Marner, yes. Oh, number 34.
Patients also received some Toronto Maple Leafs swag. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.